All right. Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for taking time out to join us this afternoon. Hopefully, we can get more people in the house. It came to my mind a few weeks ago that I'll be spending my first Christmas here in the UK, and I don't have a good idea of the tradition, particularly how it is celebrated here in the UK, the pros, the cons, and basically what to look out for. I said to myself, if I'm an international student and I have this insecurities, I have these questions, it's possible that there's also somebody out there that have the same questions. I reached out to the KBS team and they jumped on the idea, and today we're having the workshop, and I'm very happy that people supported the idea and people saw the benefit of it. Thank you for everybody coming in. So as not to waste too much time, if you have any questions, please use the chat room. We're going to be taking questions at the end of the session. I'm going to hand it over to Kelly now. And Kelly is a Briton. She's a native of Kent. And she's going to be telling us everything we need to know about Christmas and how it is celebrated in the UK. Where to go, what to do, what to buy, what not to do, and what to look at.
Cool. Thanks, Mary. Okay, let me share my screen quickly because I've put together a little something for you all. Okay, can you see my screen? Yeah, awesome, cool, thank you.
Yes, we can.
Cool. So, hi everyone. As Mary mentioned there, my name's Kelly. I'm an MBA student here at KBS. Just started my second year. And yeah, I'm here to tell you all about an English Christmas. So yeah, let's get started. There we go. So Christmas, what is it? You may or may not know. It's an event that happens on the 25th of December. Traditionally, it's associated with the Christian celebration of the birth of Jesus Christ. However, a lot of non-religious people do still celebrate the day, usually just as a time to be with family and give thanks to each other. And a common theme at Christmas time is the giving and receiving of gifts. And this actually originates back to St. Nicholas, who had a reputation for gift giving. Legend has it that there was a poor man who didn't have enough money for his eldest daughter to marry. And St. Nicholas, he was a wealthy man and he wanted to help, but the gentleman wouldn't accept that. He didn't want charity. So during the night, St. Nicholas went to their home and threw some gold coins through a window or a chimney, depending on the rendition that you read. And these coins landed in some stockings that were left hanging by the fire to dry. And this was repeated later for the other daughters of the same man. So this led to the tradition of us leaving stockings hanging out in order to receive secret gifts. As the centuries went on and cultures collided, this jolly old fellow came onto the scene, and we now associate him as Father Christmas, the secret gift giver of Christmas time. So I wanted to share with you some of the kind of Christmas traditions that we have in this country, or certainly that I have with my family anyway. And some of these sort of relate back to the Christian faith, but others not so much, and they just kind of become tradition over time. So yeah, I didn't think I could start this without mentioning John Lewis. John Lewis is a British department store, and over the last 20 years, they've kind of had a reputation for their quite unusual Christmas adverts. Originally, they got people talking just because, you know, you didn't actually know what the advert was about until right at the very end when they just put up their name. But then they started to get a bit more creative, and it's sort of become a kind of a way of consumers actually kind of anticipate this advert every year now, and it kind of sets the trends in that Christmas hasn't really started until the John Lewis Christmas advert appears on the telly. So yeah, as I mentioned, not very traditional, but something that has just become tradition sort of over time. So leading up to Christmas, we celebrate the time of Advent when we prepare for that celebration of Christmas. So within the Christian church, we have the Advent wreath, and obviously that's lit on the fourth Sunday before Christmas Day, and is lit every and each candle is lit each Sunday leading up to Christmas Eve. In the shops, we have Advent calendars, and you see some examples there on the screen. You can literally get them for anything. These ones in particular have chocolate in them. And every day during the month of December, leading up to Christmas Day, the idea is you open a window and you can get a little chocolate treat. But they also do other ones, like literally now I think you can buy them with anything, like perfume, tea bags, whatever your whatever your sort of culinary tastes are, you can probably get an Advent calendar for it. So yeah, again, you'll see lots of them in the shops. We also decorate our homes with Christmas trees, stockings, holly wreaths, and as you can see on that picture, tons and tons of lights. Christmas trees actually were introduced back into the UK back in the late 1700s by Prince Albert, who married a lady from Germany. And she brought that tradition over from Germany over to here in the UK, and it's kind of stuck with us ever since. I already told you the sort of history of the stocking. And again, the holly wreath, again, this is sort of made with evergreens, and this is associated sort of back to that kind of Christian faith, it representing the sort of eternal life of God and Christ. So yeah, as I say, a very, very mix of things, as I mentioned earlier. So things to do. So you might sort of be interested in the things that you can sort of get up to sort of around this time of the year. And one of the big things that tends to happen, although perhaps due to COVID, maybe it's sort of been a little bit not quite so impactful as previous years, but we always usually have a Christmas light switch on. So Canterbury would have had one where basically they might have like a band or a celebrity or somebody come into the town, usually towards the end of November, where what they'll do is they'll do a bit of a performance, and then they'll do a big countdown. Loads of people will flock to the town to watch, and then they basically turn on the Christmas lights. And when you go through Canterbury Centre or any town, you'll see lots of Christmas lights all through the streets. And I say that all starts off with that big Christmas light switch on. So that's usually a big event that we have, although perhaps may have already happened. Not quite familiar of what the timings are in Canterbury at the moment. So yeah, Christmas markets, really recommend if you have an opportunity to go and see one. Again, I'm not sure if there's one in Canterbury, there may be. Certainly in my local town, we tend to have one during the weekends. And in those, you tend to sort of have different sort of goods and things to buy that are different to what you get in your normal sort of shops on the high street. So usually like a lot of crafts or handmade items. You'll also get sort of like street food and like some wine and stuff to drink. It's quite nice. But yeah, it's again just all lit up, usually in little cabins and things. It's a nice sort of thing to go and do. Even if you don't want to buy anything, it's just nice to go and have a look at what sort of things are on offer. If you want to venture outside of the Canterbury area, you do have Winter Wonderland in London. This is like a massive Christmas market and fun fair. They also have other events going on there, like the Nutcracker Ballet, which kind of tells the story of a little girl. An ice bar, which is literally exactly what it says. It's basically a bar that's in a load of ice. Quite cold, but it's more the novelty of going along and, as I say, just sort of having a drink and chat with your friends while surrounded by ice. And they also have like some ice sculptures and things that you can go and look at, which are amazing. Actually, really quite something really quite spectacular to see. Church services. So again, obviously, as I mentioned, you know, Christmas is all about that celebration of Jesus Christ. So you'll find that local churches and things will have various celebrations and services going on, which I'll go into a little bit more in a second. And Santa's Grotto. So this is actually kind of like, so Santa will be available and children will be able to go and see Santa and tell them what they want for Christmas. And the idea is if they've been good, they will get it, and if they haven't, they may not. But the grotto itself is becoming quite a big thing. Like there's one not far from where I live, and they actually win awards now for actually like the best sort of decorated grottos and things like this. And quite often you can just make a donation to charity and just wander through. You can see in the background actually of this slide that there's an example of one. But yeah, it's sometimes again just nice to kind of go and be in awe at the effort and the and sort of the displays that people have created in those grottos. So yeah, again, just something else you may like to do. And also visiting an ice rink. So I think there's usually one in the Dane John Gardens in Canterbury. Again, not sure if it's on this year due to COVID, but worth checking out just to see. If not, there is a shopping centre called Blue Water that's in sort of North Kent. You tend to be able to get buses, I think, from Canterbury to head up there. It's a big shopping centre, all inside, so it's nice and warm. But actually, they do have an ice rink out in one of their car parks at the moment, along with a Christmas market as well. So again, that can make quite a nice day out if you sort of want to get out of Canterbury and do something a little different. So yeah. As I mentioned, yeah, celebration music. Music is a big thing during the Christmas festivities. As I mentioned, the churches tend to put on a series of events. Some key ones to kind of point out are the carol services or the Christingle services. The Christingle service is more of a kind of family orientated service, but the carol service is again also, yeah, just really gets you in the Christmas spirit. And if you have the opportunity to grab a ticket, if you can get over to Canterbury Cathedral, that is amazing. You can't help but get sort of engrossed in sort of, as I say, the Christmas spirit and the sort of, and get so engrossed in the music in such an amazing venue. So yeah, Christmas carol services. You'll see Christmas carol singers like everywhere. You might see them in the high street, but also one of the things that is quite common is that people go knocking door to door as well, and they sing carols. And the idea is you then collect money for charity and things as they go round. So they may come and knocking on your door. Be prepared. Carols around the tree. So again, I don't know if they're doing it on campus this year. But certainly again, like in my local area, we have like our local village has like a big tree that they put up, and all the locals kind of go there and again sing carols around it. It's a cold night, but no one seems to care. Again, it's just sort of getting in that spirit of Christmas and being together and just celebrating with carols and things like that. Christmas parties. So again, you've probably seen all the emails around going around Christmas parties. You'll see town get really, really busy as businesses and things also hold their annual Christmas parties for their staff. Secret Santa. So it's not so much a musical thing, but it is kind of like an event that tends to happen again in like places of business or whatever, perhaps even around KBS, I don't know. And the idea is with Secret Santa is you put your name in a hat, people take out the name, you don't know who's got your name, they buy a gift for you, you buy a gift for them, they don't know the gift is from you, you don't know the gift is from them. And it's all around sort of like going back to that origin of the gift giving, which is all about the giving rather than sort of expecting something back or getting that recognition for the fact that you bought someone a gift. There's none of that. It's just all about the giving. So yeah, that's Secret Santa. Yeah, time for giving. So Christmas is a time when we also try to support those that are sort of worse off than ourselves. Again, considering that gift giving with no recognition, you kind of do it for the good of doing it. And some of the sort of things that you might see advertised around the town or around the uni, I don't know, is well, Salvation Army. They will 100% be in Canterbury town centre. They are a worldwide Christian church charity that support the vulnerable. In the town, you'll see them because they will be a big brass band and they will be playing carols, in the band, and yeah, sort of asking for charity donations to help them sort of continue the great work that they do. You'll see sort of food and toy donations happening. Again, these tend to be organised in like shops, perhaps like your local supermarket might be organising one, or I know the local radio stations do some they'd have like a toy donation thing where you take an idea off of a tree and it will say, "I'll buy a toy for somebody between 5 and 7," and so you'll go and buy that toy, wrap it up and put it under their tree ready to be donated to children that are less fortunate. We also have like Christmas Jumper Day. So this is on the 10th of December. The idea is you wear the wildest Christmas jumper that you could get, and you donate £2 to charity. And but that one is specifically for a charity called Save the Children. Again, looking after sort of disadvantaged children and kids that sort of need extra help. You'll see Santa runs happening around the place. Again, these are in aid of various charities. It's usually a 5-kilometre run where you dress up as Santa and then you go for a run. Again, raising money for the charity. I think there's actually one next week on campus, but I couldn't see what charity that was in aid of, but I did see that there was a Santa run. So maybe check that out if you fancy getting involved in that. A toy run as well. So this is like where you might see motorcyclists out and about around town dressed up in Santa outfits. Again, this is like where motorbike clubs around the country, they collect up toy donations and then they drive them, they ride them to various children's charities around the country, all dressed up as Santa, sort of over their bike gear. It's a bit random, but it's it's a great cause. And again, you'll probably see lots of things around volunteering and stuff as well, so helping out in shelters and things like that. Obviously, it's a very cold time of year, in case then if you haven't noticed, it does get quite nippy. So yeah, so obviously helping those that are sort of maybe homeless or less fortunate is a really good thing to do at this time of year. Oh, sorry, bear with me a second. There we go. So yeah, so thinking of that side of things, around sort of giving and food drives and things like this, I wanted to also now just give a brief intro into sort of the sort of food and drink that you might see around at this time of year in this country. So mulled wine, yeah, this is basically like red wine with spices in it that's heated up. What I would say is it's very hit and miss. Like any wine in general, you get cheap, nasty ones and you get really good ones. And mulled wine is no different. You can get ones that taste awful and you can get ones that taste really nice. But either way, if you're out and about, especially out one evening at one of those Christmas markets, a mulled wine really helps warm you up. And yeah, it can be quite yummy. Christmas at home, so the sort of food that you'd sort of we would have at home is like Christmas fruit cake, mince pies. So this isn't like meat mince, this is mince which is actually like, again, spiced fruit. You see a theme here around spiced fruit at Christmas, and yeah, just sort of wrapped in pastry. They're yum. For dinner we usually have turkey, which is like the driest meat ever. So we have to make it taste better by stuffing it with sausage meat stuffing. And but yeah, it's about, I think I read a stat that about 52% of Brits still prefer having turkey at Christmas, despite that it's not that good a meat. But yeah, we usually have turkey. Pigs in blanket, which is like a mini cocktail sausage wrapped in bacon, and gravy and vegetables. Again, you might hear some jokes around sprouts. They're like mini cabbages, like small little green mini cabbages. They give you wind. Just, yeah, be careful if you decide to have some. But yeah, that again, that's a vegetable that you'll see a lot of around Christmas. Yeah, we also eat Christmas pudding, which is again a sort of a spiced fruit with lots of alcohol in it. And what we tend to do is we actually drizzle brandy over it and we light it, which is what the picture that you see there is. Unfortunately, my ones never look that good when I light them. But yeah, the idea is you do that and you come in and it's all dark and it just looks amazing. So yeah, Christmas pudding, sausage rolls, and lots of cheese and crackers. You'll see lots of these in the supermarket. Again, very yummy. All of this food, by the way, you can buy in your local supermarket. You don't have to go anywhere special to buy it. Alternatively, you can make them yourself. So like in my family, we do actually make our own fruitcake and Christmas puddings and mince pies. Yeah, we just have like family traditions where everyone has to stir the mixture to bring the family good luck and all this sort of thing. So yeah, that's the sort of main food that you'll find around this time. But as I say, very easy to get hold of if you do want to try any of this stuff. You also find like a lot of people, they don't want to spend all day behind the stove, which, as you can imagine, cooking a big dinner with all of that food is going to take a long time to do. So actually, a lot of people tend to go out to pubs or restaurants now for Christmas dinner, and they just take their family with them. You know, I mean, they might want to go on their own, but usually the family's with them. And yeah, this is sort of becoming more popular. But what I would say is, if you want to get involved in a Christmas dinner, but you don't want to go through the hassle of cooking all this yourself, I would definitely recommend booking in advance, because if you turn up anywhere, they're not going to let you in. It is literally usually just you have to book in advance for these things, and it can be a bit pricey as well, depending on where you go. So yeah, just shop around and book in advance if that's something you're interested in. So yeah, before I sort of finish off, I just wanted to give a couple of useful notes that will help you navigate your way around during the Christmas period. Firstly, shopping in general. Thursday night late shopping in the weeks leading up to Christmas. So you'll find that the high street tends to stay open a bit later, as I say, on a Thursday night, usually till about 9 p.m. rather than the usual sort of 5-6 o'clock like it normally shuts. Again, just to give you that bit of extra time to spend more money and buy all those gifts and yummy foods that you want to buy. But it's worth noting that on Christmas Day, all shops will be shut. I mean, your local newsagents might open first thing in the morning, you know, but other than that, everything else will be closed. Many do reopen on Boxing Day, but the Christmas Day sales do tend to start on Boxing Day or on the 27th, depending on what day the shop reopens. So yeah, just some things just to bear in mind. So yeah. If you do find that you're traveling either around Christmas, around the Christmas period, public transport will be quite limited. Trains in particular, so there won't be any southeastern trains that run Christmas Day or Boxing Day, and then there's going to be a limited service between the 27th of December and the 3rd of Jan. So again, if you do want to travel sort of out away from the Canterbury area or wherever you're staying, it's worth bearing in mind that you will need to check in advance, because your usual train or might not be running or something. So yeah, check that out. Buses, again, it's a limited service over the Christmas period. I did try to see what Stagecoach were doing over Christmas, but they haven't published their Christmas timetable yet. So again, worth checking nearer the time if you do plan on heading out, and giving yourself plenty of time as well for any delays and things like that. Taxis will be available, as they always are. I mean, they never stop working, do they? But on Christmas Day, they will be limited and really expensive. And I say very in capitals there, because to give an example, from here to my mum's house, it normally costs me about £8 on a taxi. But on Christmas Day, it costs me £40. Yeah, so very big hike on Christmas Day. But if you still want one on Christmas, like because maybe you are traveling to a friend who's maybe on the other side of Canterbury or something like that, I'd recommend booking in advance, because although taxis might be available, there's not going to be many of them. So do book in advance to avoid any disappointment. So yeah, that's pretty much it from me. Just wanted to sort of wish you all a very Merry Christmas, whatever you end up doing during this Christmas period. and yeah, have an awesome time.
Wow, thank you, Kelly. We've picked quite a number of things from you. Definitely, I'll be looking out for the carols that will knock on my door. I want to hear them sing. And of course, the John Lewis advert, I'm going to throw that into Google and find out what that is all about. Thank you so much. We will also be sharing the slides. So if anybody's interested in following up after this, there's room to actually do that. I'm going to hand you over to Fumi. Fumi is a Nigerian that's now based in England. She has personal first-hand experience of what it means or what it means to live through your first Christmas. She's going to be telling us her own personal experience and how she was able to navigate it. Thank you, Fumi. Over to you.
Thank you. I hope you can hear me. And I would put my slides on now.
We can hear you. Yes, we can hear you and we can see your slides.
Okay, thank you. So good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my first Christmas experience in the UK. I wish I had someone like Kelly way back then, because it probably would have been a whole lot different. Mine was many, many years ago, and the events still, some of it still stand out quite clearly, like it happened yesterday. So I'm hoping, I know there are some people like me, and this may resonate with you, or with what I'm going to share might resonate with you, but more importantly, I hope it serves to encourage new international students, and especially what Kelly has shared, that I'm hoping that your first Christmas away from home this year would be great for you. So a little bit about me. I am from Nigeria, and I have a very large family. Prior to relocating, I worked as a qualified pharmacist for one of the big pharmas in the UK, located in Nigeria then. Then I decided I wanted to do a postgraduate course to allow me to practice as a pharmacist in the UK. So that was where my journey started from. And let's talk about Christmas in Nigeria. Is usually quite big. It's a lot of parties. We do like our parties in Nigeria, especially in Lagos. It's fun. It's all about family. Not very different from what you said, Kelly. It's more about family and friends getting together while it's a Christmas celebration, but we often do it together with our non-Christian friends. It's just an opportunity to get family together. And you would often find people travel from big cities to towns because they have the extended family. So by doing that, it kind of makes sure that nobody is left out. Everyone is catered for one way or the other. You would often find families throwing large parties for the less privileged, as you've mentioned, so that everyone is catered for. You reach out to people that are less privileged than you. And so as long as everyone is celebrating together. So like I said, I'm from a very close-knit family. I'm one of 6, so it's large, and the extended family is quite large as well. And we tend to celebrate a lot of events together as a family. So by doing that, it kind of makes sure that nobody's left out in the Christmas celebration, which was what I found myself being on my own for the first time ever during Christmas. I mean, to make that particular first Christmas even more interesting, I had a few life-changing events. One, not only was it my first Christmas away from home, I had also contracted the flu virus. And I felt like I was going to die. I'm not being dramatic. It was really awful having flu for the first time. And so you can imagine my state of mind. And another significant event that happened around that time was on the 26th of December, where there was a tsunami in Thailand where hundreds of thousands of people lost their lives. So you can imagine I wasn't having a great time. Apart from that, prior to that, I was trying to settle in a new environment because I was doing my postgraduate at Aston University in Birmingham. And I hadn't been in uni for about 7 years because I had been working. So trying to adapt to the new academic style or the new ways things are being taught, that in itself was tough. And I came in to study on my own. So I left my family, I left my young children behind just to study so I could focus. So it was one of the most difficult times trying to be a student away from my family. So, and I was poor. I mean, I was really poorly with the virus. And then put all that together, you can imagine that Christmas wasn't exactly top of my agenda around that time. It was more about settling down, getting to grips with my studies, talking to the family back at home, and just having that kind of connection. So I probably didn't really notice a lot going on around that time. If I was to think about my positive experience around that time, I would say it was my network of friends. And those experiences have stayed with me. One, it was also my first experience of winter and snow was absolutely amazing. Especially once I got the idea of layering proper.
Hi, Fumi, I think you've muted yourself.
I'm so sorry, you lost me at positive experience. Sorry about that. I was just saying that some of the positive experiences that have stayed with me is my experience of winter for the first time. Snow was amazing. That particular year there was snow. And once I got used to the idea of layering and wearing the appropriate clothing, I could enjoy it better then. I still have my network of friends that I made as an international student then. And those were the kind of things that kept me going. I also realized that the quickest way to integrate into the local community was with my local church. Being a Christian, the first thing I did was find my local church. And it was a hub of activity. They knew a lot of things going on. Some of the things that Kelly had mentioned, you find out from the church, the Christmas carol. So I was part and parcel of that. And fast forwarding several years later, one of the things I still tell my children when they go move away from home or go to university, the first thing we do together is research where the local church is, because it's usually the hub of the local community. And they're always happy to offer that support and help you understand what's going on around you. And one of the things I learned is that even though we're different, we're not that different in what we celebrate, well, which is our social network and family. It's the how and where. And so I was less worried about what I was missing in subsequent Christmases that followed. My negative experiences was working on my assumption of Christmas back at home. You know, the Christmas party, loud, meeting people on Christmas Day, you go around and talk to people and you're spending time with your friends and family. I had a shock because one, like Kelly mentioned, transportation was an issue. I didn't know that they had limited services. And of course, so the event that stood out for me was going to church on Christmas Day for a Christmas service. And because I didn't know that, I was stuck at the bus stop for hours in the snow. I could not feel my feet and my fingers for a few hours to come. I eventually got home. And I would probably say that was probably the most, one of the loneliest times of my life, because I stood there not knowing how to connect, how to find out where there was, like I said, getting a taxi was impossible. Just getting any form of transportation was impossible on that day. Had I known that earlier, I would have rearranged things. And when I got home, I decided to watch TV all day, which was a really bad idea, because then that was when I heard about the tsunami. And of course, that was such an heartbreaking time, coupled with being alone. So it wasn't that great. So some of my survivor tactics was just to build my network with other students and who were in similar situations, and we were able to kind of support each other that way, as well as my my local church. I kept in contact with my family, because Christmas is more about family. You feel the absence of your family the most around Christmas. So I made sure with the use of technology, stayed connected with family. And like I said, I had the flu. It took me about 2-3 weeks to survive, to recover from that. So there was lots of chicken soup, day and night nurse. And I was goggling the two just to keep myself afloat and alive that time. Well, in the following years, I have learned to build new memories, because then, of course, it was I was very determined not to have a repeat of the first time. So it got better. It definitely got better. Then I asked myself, what would I do differently? I mean, I've had the opportunity of having spent about 17 Christmases here, so it's been a long time. I have done a lot of things differently. And if I was to advise my children and friends coming to study, I would just say do your research. And thankfully we have something like what Kelly had done, do that research, to integrate, learn more about the culture, I would have spent a little bit more time instead of keeping my head down. I just had my head stuck in the books, trying to settle, trying to not be sick and not to miss home too much. But I would have taken a little bit more time to notice what was going on around me. I would have, if I had done that. I'm trying to remember as far back as that if the university I was in put something together for international students, because I just assumed that people were going home. And there weren't that many of us out there, but because I had my head stuck in my books and with everything else going on, I didn't learn. I did not look out for certain things that would have made it a whole lot easier. So of course, which is about talking to other people as well. My Christmas now is very, very different. So over the years, we've learned to develop our own Christmas culture, which is not very different from what Kelly had mentioned. And it varies from year to year. Some years I want to be quiet. Some years I want to have a party. I've kind of amalgamated the Nigerian culture with the British culture. And so when I'm hanging out with my Nigerian friends, we have a party similar to back home. And when I'm with my British friends, we go to the pub, we have Christmas meal eating turkey. Like I said, turkey. Over the years, I've learned how to cook the turkey meat, and the Americans cook it by brining it in salt water for days, so you can get that, keeps it really moist and edible. So if I'm cooking turkey, I have to do it that way. So soak it in salt water and whatever herbs you want to do for a few days, put it in the garden when it's really cold, or stick it in the fridge. By the time you cook it, it's really nice and moist, in case you're thinking of cooking turkey. And having lived here for a long time, I'm part of the professional local community and friendship. So there'll be Christmas meals at work. So I put myself out there. Being an introvert, one of the things I've learned to do is just put myself out there, join meetings, and you end up eating so much that I have to put myself on the diet for January to start with. So the memories, I occasionally have flashbacks to my first Christmas, but it's not anything bad now. I mean, I didn't think about it until I was asked to do this, because then I remembered some of those events. Well, like I said, by building new memories, that has kind of faded into the background now, the negative side of things, actually. So what would I say to all of you? I will probably say, make it your own. Christmas is about family, it's about connection, it's about hanging out with people. I have learned to make Christmas my own. Technology has made the distance less pronounced. I have more family around me, and my life is here now. And so Christmas is about what I do here now. And all I will ask is that you make this Christmas your own. It can be whatever you want it to be, as long as you're happy with your choice and you have access to a network of people. Should you want to do something different, to be in stockings on your own. The thing is not to be on your own, and by reaching out to the student support, to whatever local community that's there around you, and finding out more, it could be a very enjoyable weight gaining time. So, thank you for your time, and that's it for me. If you have any questions.
Thank you, Funmi. We've learned quite a number of things from you. I'm sorry about the flu on your first Christmas. I can just imagine how bad that was. For the turkey, we will be setting it in water and salt and spices for a few days to come. That transportation issue, I will take note of it, and I will tell my family and friends about it. I don't want to be put out on the cold for hours on Christmas Day. All right. At this, I've been attending to some, and if you have any questions, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask the questions. Kelly, do you want to shed more light on the question asked by Shadi?
Sure. So just to sort of share the question, oh, hold on, lost my mouse. Sadi was asking, I remember the streets used to be resplendent with Christmas decorations. Does it still happen, and who is responsible for it financially? So as I mentioned in the chat, usually when you see the decorations in the high street, they tend to be funded by the local council. And I think probably the ones around the university, for example, will probably be funded by the university. In sort of streets, like if you're living on like a residential estate, you'll probably see decorations outside people's houses. And these will be paid for obviously by the people that are putting those decorations up. So like, for example, if I've got lights outside my house, that will be me that's paying to put those lights on. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's why you kind of see a mix in that some houses have them up and some houses don't, because you know, some people don't want that extra expense, or they can't afford it. So yeah, so that's kind of like how they're funded. Regarding the carol singers knocking door to door, would they accept gifts if we choose to give them? I'm sure they would love a small gift as well. As I say, I think when I used to go carol singing when I was younger, I think I was given quite a lot of fruit, you know, and that was all good, you know. So yeah, it's whatever you like, to be honest. Yeah, I hope that helps.
All right, thank you. We'll send the link to the John Lewis advert. So please, attendees, feel free to copy that. Obviously, they're saying that Christmas is around the corner and we all have to jump into the spirit of Christmas. I don't think there are any other questions. Are there any other questions?
Mary, I think we've got one more question in the chat. I want my children to meet Santa for gifts. Is that done in the UK? If yes, where should I go and when? I might be able to help in that. Yes, as Kelly mentioned, you meet Santa and he will give you a gift. Usually it's donation based. They are dotted all around the UK, meeting Santa, sometimes in garden centres. Would you agree, Kelly?
Yes, yeah, I would say that if you can get to a local garden centre, they usually have them there. If you go onto like their website or something, you can book. Again, all these things are booking in advance, I would say. If you just turn up, chances are you may not. Also in some shopping centres as well, you see them. Yeah. So yeah, you tend to see them there as well.
Yeah, I think Googling sort of Santa's grotto events near me or in the local area, that could give you a good idea of what's local to you.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's about all the questions that we have.